Hey, good evening. I was about to say good afternoon, but I was like, nah, it's evening.
Yeah, we want to say good night. Good evening.
It is that brother empowerment time. I'm Dwayne Garnett.
I am Cordell Gibson.
And this is our weekly thing, brother empowerment. We're waiting on a few people to get on.
Yeah.
And then we can get this party started.
Hopefully, everyone's night hasn't been as eventful as ours. How's your week been so far, brother?
You beat me to it. I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah, I got you.
Man, things this week has actually been pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of exciting things happening for Love is a Parable.
Okay.
I can't wait to share those things, but they are coming and they are happening. It's a lot of great things. Life has this funny way of just when you feel like things are not working out, they are working out.
Yeah.
And so I'm just excited about the things that are about to take place with Love is a Parable. And our special guest is on. So let me see if I can add him. Face all in the... Okay. How was your week, though?
Well, it's been eventful. I am too excited about things with your announcements, but everything's been good so far. It's warm, although there's a lot of pollen, but it's warm. Everybody knows, or people that know me know that I'm a warm blood, and I'll take blistering heat any day I can get it over the.
Listen, when it gets cold, he gets a bad attitude and everything.
Nothing like that.
Look, our brother Fred on from last night. You might have to come over a little bit, bro.
What's going on, Fred?
Okay, so I'm actually excited about tonight for several different reasons. But one of the things is I'm excited about our special guest because he's from my hometown, Augusta, Georgia. John, you not happy about that? John, you weren't happy about that?
Oh no, it paused on me so I couldn't see anything. I heard Augusta and then it just went dead.
All right. So we're glad that you came on. You came on at a perfect time, bro. So I want people, tell them who you are, first of all, and then I'll come back in. So introduce yourself to the people.
Well, I am, as he said, from the great budding metropolis of Augusta, Georgia. And I went into the Army for a few years and I got out, and I run a studio in Richmond where I teach people art, and I write books and short stories, and I do public speaking, and I live my best life, put it that way.
Okay. Hey, glad to have you, John.
The interesting thing is, like I said, we all grew up together.
Yeah.
John and his younger sister, Elizabeth, all of us grew up together, went to the same schools and all of those great things. But what impressed me is John got into what we call a social media education, because it really wasn't, it was clear where John stood on his stance. And I was so impressed with his delivery, his execution, and how he just stayed on topic and stayed on point. I said, we need to get him on Brother Empowerment.
Yeah.
And so I like to say John is an activist. He's always been an activist, in my opinion. He always went against the grain. And when he talk about being an artist, guys, his stuff is sick. You know what I'm talking about? Sick.
Okay.
So you definitely need to check him out. And like he said, he does have a studio in Richmond, Virginia, right?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay. So we're going to jump into it. But first, bro, how was your week? No, I thought I talked and you didn't tell me everything that went on.
No, man. This week was good, man. This week, like I said, it's warm. The pollen's out, but it's okay. I'll take it.
Yeah, okay. You did say that.
I got a bottle of Zyrtec that I'm waiting to just get into, but it's all right, man. We're good.
So if he starts slurring, it has nothing to do with anything else. Okay, so the whole purpose of why Brother Empowerment was started, John, was we were challenged by a sister counterpart to say, hey, why don't brothers empower brothers? So the whole idea behind Brother Empowerment is to talk about issues from a male perspective, not bashing definitely not ridiculing, but coming to a place where we shed light on some things that may not be that great or some things that may be misunderstood. But the whole thing is to uplift one another while recognizing also the everyday man that doesn't get that platform to speak and to do things. So the very first thing is, John, when you think about brother empowerment, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Forgive me if my stuff pauses up. It's my old phone. So if it locks up, I'm here. When I think of brother empowerment, one of the things that first comes to mind automatically is that you see there's such a divide with men in competition, feeling that if there's somebody, I guess, in your same field, that you have to dominate that field, and there's enough room for all of us to play. There's no reason why you can't have more than one at the top. And so when I hear that and I see that, whenever I see someone who's in my field, such as an artist, I have never once felt that I couldn't uplift that guy. Hey, how do I do this certain technique? I'm not scared of that man being a better artist than me. I want him to be a good artist. Why would I want to keep him from that? Why would I want to hinder his performance and his ability to succeed in life? And so when I think of the empowerment of brothers as males, it's just helping each other get ahead in life and to be the best person that you can possibly be, because that's how we can grow as humans, not just men, but just as humans. So
now, I will tell you, you said something that really came to mind, because we talk about competition a lot. A lot of the brothers who've been on the show, a lot of the guest speakers, whether male or female, have talked a lot about competition. What are some things that you're doing to kind of alleviate that competition or the need to compete between brothers?
Well, competition is good. Competition doesn't mean that I'm trying to force you out of business. I think it was Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's, once said that if I saw my enemy or my competition drowning, I would shove a hose in their mouth. And I just think that's a sad thing, because, with competition, somebody once said, if there's competition in your field, that means it's a thriving market. And I want competition. It doesn't scare me. The only people that are scared of competition are ones who are not secure, not only in their trade and in their craft, but in their manhood. I'm sorry. If you're scared of competition, you have serious self-esteem issues as a man. You really do, and you need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. Admitting you need help, that's a men don't want to admit that they need help, because that shows weakness, and that's sad.
Well, I'll tell you this. We talked a lot about it. Like, I personally believe it might be an arrogant approach, but I actually don't believe in competition, because nobody can beat me at being me. So okay. I actually think the opposite. I think competition was something that was created by insecure people. Because there's no way you're going to be better than me at being me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you may be an artist, I may be an artist, but I'm the best artist at being me. So it's nothing you can do about that.
I think what I mean by competition is that, let's say I have a product or service and I'm offering, I just use portraits because I do a lot of portraits. There are other artists that feel like they need to take that business from me, because they, it is difficult as an artist to make it. To be a full-time artist is difficult, but that doesn't scare me. In fact, my question is, how can I help you? I'm not scared of you. I think that's what I mean by competition is that there's a lot of, I can't think of the word, but when you have a lot of, people that are in the same craft or the same trade as you, and they're offering the same product or service that you have, just what makes yours different? It doesn't mean that it's better, it just means it's different. That's what I mean. Yeah. There you go. There's enough for everyone.
Yeah, I was about to say, you had a couple of people agreeing with you, Crystal being one of them. Hey, Crystal, make sure you tell her, hey, Crystal. Crystal basically said competition drives a person. And I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Frederick, we already said, what's up, fellas? What's up? Derek said, "What's up?" DJ Ty, World Class Ty said, "What's up?"
What's up, Ty?
And then our brother Kerwin was on. And here's the other thing. When brother Kerwin was on, it actually opened to a great discussion because one of the things that we don't talk about a lot are, it's like we're afraid to talk about the true issues. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that impressed me with you, John. You like went for the jugular. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, when we had Kerwin on, we talked about colorism because a lot of people don't understand, in addition to having that male competition, there is a role that colorism plays in that competition as well. So you naturally know, look, you laughing already. Yeah. You naturally know the other part to that with brother empowerment that we don't like to talk about is actually racial insensitivity and racial inclusion. What is your take on that?
On colorism or racial inclusion?
Racial inclusion. Hold on, John. What is your take on colorism?
I think that it's a real sad thing. There is enough white supremacy in the United States that are keeping minorities as a whole back. And so when you have a minority who is trying to come up, it is a really, really sad thing to see people who are dark-skinned or light-skinned. You hear about it, rappers that have only light-skinned women in their videos, or you see, I don't know, what's that dude, that funny-looking dude, Kodak Black or whatever, he's bashed, women of color, and it's just, I think that it's sad because I think that that's a mental issue, but I think that comes from the I don't want to get a lot on white supremacy, but I think that that's the problem. It starts in the education system right there, and they work that through the school systems by segregating even the history. I mean, you think about Black history. There's so much more to Black history than the 28 days that you have in February, and they don't integrate it into the actual learning. So what they do is they cut out segregation. And they allow the schools to be integrated, but then they segregated the history. So now you don't learn it in a chronological order like you're supposed to. So they just removed all of it and shoved it in 28 days, which is coincidentally the time they're learning, studying for the SOLs. And so what happens is you bring that into the school systems and you cause division within your own race. And I mean, in the system that we're in, that's brilliant. I mean, hey, have them fight amongst themselves. We don't have to do, anything. We have them fight amongst themselves, So that's my take on colorism. It's a real thing. It really is, and I don't think it's talked about enough. It all comes down to the one thing that we all are, and that's humans.
I like that. The thing that we found out a lot with being on this show. It's different when our brothers of different hues make those statements. Yeah. Because a lot of times you do have a lot of Blacks who feel unheard because you do have this weird overcast of saying, okay, get over it, get over it, get over it. But when we hear our lighter hue brothers say the same thing, that no, it exists and it's a horrible thing, you just helped so many brothers who not even needed the validation, but it's different when you have the other side to say, no, it exists. You know what I mean? And we need to do something about it. So you have
I agree, because the thing is that it's one of those things that nobody wants to talk about because they don't want to recognize that it's a real thing and that it really exists. Yeah.
Why do you think it's hard for lighter hue people, white people, to say something than it is for Black people to talk about it? Why do you feel like white people kind of avoid it or say, no, it's not that way, things are changing, we're more progressive?
Because white people don't want to realize that there's still a divide in the nation. And don't get me wrong, I mean, we've made insane strides in America. I mean, name me another nation where a minority was voted to be the president of the United States. You can have your theories on it all day long. I mean, it really doesn't matter. But let's just look at the facts. We had a minority that was voted as the highest office in the land. And there are more strides within minorities that are being seen on an equal level. So let's get that out of the way. But I think, you know, I was talking with a gentleman the other day, and we got on the whole, you know, police shootings, and he said that, you know, more white people are killed by police than minorities, and by the numbers, he's absolutely right. But statistically, it's not even close. I mean, and if you can't see there's a problem there, then you are a part of the problem, and it's getting to a point where I'm getting tired of trying to explain that to people. Just the other day, I think it was yesterday in Richmond, they had a police officer that was fired because of his ties to white supremacy. This dude had tattoos, white supremacist tattoos on his body. You can't tell me he never pulled a minority over and thought, I'm just going to treat him like I treat everybody else. I mean, now how many of them are out there that we don't know about? That's just the one they caught, you know? So, yeah. I could talk.
I saw you. I saw you about to go there, and as you can see, everyone, this is why I wanted John on, because he's a powerful speaker, and he goes in and speaks against inequalities on such a large platform, and he's a businessman, so he's free to do a lot of the things that some of us can't say or do. So now we want to get into some questions, John. Okay, here's the first question. Are men ready for a helpmate or a wife?
I mean, how mature
in the current state? I guess the question is more of.
Well, she said, "Are you ready?" But I guess yeah, she's speaking to his men in general.
Right. Are men ready? The current man, right now, 2019 man, is he ready for the next level of commitment or a wife?
No. I mean, it all depends on the mental level of the person, but you can see, okay. Most of your, and I noticed this with the people who work for me, social media when it comes to dating is really, I mean, people throw relationships, away quick. It's just swiping left or right now. And you think about it, let's just say I was out and about and I wanted to talk to a woman, right? And it doesn't matter where she is, Walmart, a bookstore, it doesn't matter. And I go up to her and I introduce myself. In just a matter of seconds, she can pinpoint whether she wants to talk to me or not. But if I get online, I can create a profile and I can look you up and I can read everything about your life. And you know, I can see, hey, she likes skiing. Well, I don't like skiing, but I can read everything that I need to know about skiing. I can read all her wants, interests, likes. And when we meet up, I've already learned everything I need to know about her. So let's go sleep together now that we know each other. And so it's just such a fast rate of moving that I don't think that most men, and I hate to say it, know what it means to build a house. I mean, there's an old saying that the robin will not even lay down with a female until he has made a nest for her. Mm-hmm. And they're not doing that. I mean, I guess you could go to millennials and they're irresponsible. I don't care what it is. I just think that a lot of it is not being taught at home anymore, of being a man and what it means to take care of a family. And you see it in court systems. I mean, men get screwed over big when it comes to family courts. So, I mean, why would I want to give up half my stuff if we're going to get a divorce? You know, and I mean, I think whenever it comes to men just not being ready, I just think it goes back to responsibility and them just not knowing how to take responsibility for their actions. Right now, you take the average guy, he goes to work and a customer gets mad at him. I'm not going to take this anymore. And he walks off the job. When you have a family, I'm sorry, you got to take that sometimes. That's where your manhood comes into play. That wife and those kids at home, you know what? My manhood steps up and I say, you know what? Not abuse, but that man says, you know, I got to take that. His character comes into play and he knows what he has to do when he takes it for that family that he made a commitment to. So, and I don't think that's a white issue or black issue. I think that's a men all the way across the board, you know.
Is that the thing, bro?
Well, all right.
Where am I wrong?
What'd you say?
I said, where am I wrong? If I'm wrong, tell me. I want to know.
I would say wrong. I mean, these questions are. I mean, there's a lot of questions that are asked are definitely subjective. So right or wrong doesn't necessarily come into play. I definitely think social media has added a lot of elements into dating. Some bad, some good, some the gray areas there, depending on who you are and what you believe. I definitely think that social media plays a part in some people being a little bit more, I guess, instant gratification oriented when it comes to dating. I definitely think
True.
that's true. As far as the question itself, are men ready for a helpmate or for a wife? I definitely think that now in 2019, in our age 2019, that some men don't necessarily care about getting married, and that
Right.
they're not necessarily ready for one because they don't want one. And I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. Marriage isn't for everybody, as we are finding out. If it was for
Yeah.
everybody, the divorce rate wouldn't be so high.
Yeah, I guess. Hold on, let me go up because it was some comments that were agreeing. Just so we'll catch up. Crystal Brody Smith said, great point, Jay, about people can be themselves and each person can be confident. You're right. We're all unique. I simply think each person can be competitive yet supportive with one another. Agreeing with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lawanda Kuzar, another classmate, she said, I believe colorism starts in the home. And let me see. And that's it. What I was going to add to what you were saying, bro, is that I think that social media is a scapegoat just as much as religion and college is a scapegoat for people. I think it goes back to your original statement of it depends on the mental stability or the mental level of a person or the behavioral competency of an individual. Fortunately, when I met my wife, the only thing that was popping was MySpace and MySpace and Planet.
I remember those.
But and we got together at the beginning when Facebook was coming popular. But I think that equally, social media allows people to see things that they wouldn't see until later on in a relationship. So I think
That's
with
true.
some of the stuff, it allows them an opportunity to make the assessment. As it relates to marriage and a helpmeet or helpmate, the bigger problem is I don't think that we have a clear and I don't think we have a clear depiction, a clear positive depiction of marriage. Because I know a lot of guys, and when we talk about millennials, all of us are millennials, and I know a lot of guys talk about marriage as if it's a notch in the belt, or as if it's like a death sentence.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, marriage hasn't been a bad thing. I've actually enjoyed being married, and I actually like my wife. Yeah.
How long have you been married?
Huh?
How long have you been married?
We got married. Well, it'll be 11 years this year.
Okay. All right.
We got married in 2008. We only knew each other for less than 2 months before I proposed to her. Less than a year of knowing her and 10 months of knowing each other, we were married. And it just worked for me. Like, I'm one of them people, I do agree. I think in the first 4 seconds, if you want to even engage in any type of relationship with a person. And I think fairly quickly if you want to spend the rest of your life with this person or not. That's me. A lot of people argue with that. I get it. But I also feel like there is not enough positive representation of what marriage is and what marriage could be. A lot of times we look at the stereotypical bogged down, wife overbearing, it's not fun, not getting along with your in-laws. See, I don't have any of those problems. We get along with the in-laws. My wife gets along with with my family. So we don't have those problems. And I actually like talking to my wife. I actually like seeing my wife. Heck, we in this nonprofit, we're running a business together. So it's been good for me. And so sometimes I'm disheartened by the fact that people think of marriage as like a death sentence. Like, well, I might as well get married and have kids and die.
Yeah, it's anyone up to pasture, you're yeah, like you said, I might as well do this before I die. I'm old now, or I've run out of things that I want to do. Might as well get married. So,
like Bruno Mars, I might as well do something dumb today. Yeah. I think I'll marry you.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. So, but to stay on topic, I definitely think that it depends, like you said, depends on who we're talking to. Overall, and like Jay said, that's key is that we don't have a lot of examples of the balance, the positive balance that marriage can be. It's always talked about frequently. I won't say always. It's talked about frequently as just a huge or a long, glorious battle of give and take, or a huge tug of war all the time. Whereas when you see people who, like Jay said, who like each other, who generally have a great relationship, it's not a give and take of anything. It's a balance. It's just constantly evolving.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I get this thing when somebody says, "This is my better half." First of all, if you married to anybody that's a half, you already done messed up. Because I want a whole wife, I want a whole woman, I want a complete woman, I want all of those things. And so people say things that I think that already go into it, and I really feel like we're not defining and positively representing what marriage could be and what marriage truly is about. Now you got some real feedback going on, bro.
Who, I do?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me move to a different room. Hold on.
You got Transformers in his living room.
I was about to say it was going.
What about
so
now?
while you get set, we have Tara that said she apologized for being late. Hey, Tara.
Hey, Tara.
She also said marriage is dope, and she agreed that in the first 4 seconds. And then LaWanda said, we like to perfect marriages. We have a list of what we want and how we want our marriage to be, when it really is just growth in process. Yeah. I agree. Tara said, don't be looking for a wife after you too old to jump the fence, Cordell.
I won't. Trust me, I won't.
That goes both ways. It does. I'm sorry. But okay, I've been married 18 years this year. All right. And my wife and I, we dated for 2 weeks, and I asked her to marry me. So, I mean, and I have a phenomenal wife. I have a great life with her. I mean, she's my best friend. We still have coffee every morning and talk up a storm. Unfortunately, we start to really get into our conversations when it's time for one of us to go to the office. But I see that same thing that happens with women. They want to, especially, I'm sorry, but younger women, they're wanting to have their fun. And then after, they've gotten to a certain point, where most men don't want them anymore, and they're, late 30s, now they want to settle down. It's like, well, you had your fun. Well, it goes both ways. Men do it, so do women. So yeah, dude, don't be waiting till you're too old, man.
No, I definitely won't.
Okay, Frederick said, Fred Foreman, thank you, bro. He said, outstanding. Great to hear marriage talked about with this positivity. I will say this too, though. I think that we have been conditioned to overthink and suppress our true feelings and our true senses. Like, we actually know in our first thought what we really want to do, like if we should flee from a relationship or if we should pursue a relationship. But by the time we overthink, I think that's when sabotage happens. But I think if we just trusted our instinct and trusted who we are organically, a lot of times the relationship trials that we go through, a lot of those things are the result of overthinking, not really just trusting who you are and trusting your instinct.
Usually your first instinct is usually the right instinct.
Right.
Yeah, I would believe that. In a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here you go. Okay, Tara agreed with you. She said, yep, both ways. Love those double-digit anniversaries. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, bro. You've been married almost to have a 20-year-old.
Yep. that is true. That is true.
LaWanda said, yep, overthink, that's it. And she also said she's 15 years of married there. And Tara said, trials. People quit too soon. Miss Joey said, in my opinion, too much microwave dating, not enough oven courtship, meaning too many folks want instant gratification and not willing to take time to work, build, grow with each other. What you want to say, bro?
No, I mean, she put it, dead on. There's no, Somebody once said, there's this old, you've heard this, it went around on the internet for a while, that this lady was saying how her marriages fall apart too fast. And this elderly lady's been married like 60 or 70 years. And she said, I came up in a generation where our televisions, we took them to a repair shop. We didn't throw them away. And people are way too quick to want to walk away from a relationship. They don't want to work at it. It's too much. It's too stressed. And it's easier to walk away. And to a certain degree, I mean, if it's an abusive situation, male or female, nobody wants to deal with abuse. And you shouldn't have to. Walk away from that bull crap. You know, get out of that crap. But I mean, when you have your issues, you walk away and you come back when you're both rational and mature. Because both of us, I mean, men and women, you know, I can be irrational, but my wife will tell you there are plenty of times where I come and I'll say, hey, look, I was wrong right there. That was my fault. And she's brilliant at doing that too, coming and sitting down and saying, hey, look, I heard you the wrong way. I want to apologize for that. And it's not taken away from your integrity to sit up there and say, hey, look, I was wrong in this situation. No, that makes you a man or a woman to admit that you messed up, you know, talking about it. Communication, baby. Go to the ant and learn of her ways, for she is wise. Why? Because they communicate.
See? But bro, I want to add something. I want to add something to that people don't think about. A lot of people say that they don't agree with marriage, but want marriage benefits. And the truth of the matter is, that work, that growth, that process, those are actually things you do in marriage. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of times we want the whole thing, like, give me a full preview of marriage before I get it. No, marriage truly is faith. It's like, I don't know what I'm jumping into, but I'm willing to jump in it with this person together. Like the fact that I didn't know my wife, it makes each day better because I'm still learning new things about my wife. And that rekindles that flame each and every day because I'm like, oh, I didn't know you thought that way. Oh, I didn't know you felt that way. See, 10 years later, we still are investing. We still are doing work. We still are growing. You see what I mean? But that happened in the marriage. And so when we look back, we're looking back at our total investment, which was put in this marriage. And it hasn't been a bad thing. We actually had one rough year, and we always talk about that. For some reason, it was year 7. We was like, whoa, this is a rough year for us. But other than that, I have enjoyed every part of marriage. I just think we overthink things. Here it goes. LaWanda said, that's it. Quit too soon. We need to read that word. She's talking about the Holy Bible, people. Kim said, this is good. Kimberly Guest. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Kim.
LaWanda said, some people are just not strong enough nor equipped to handle the trials, but handling mine was so worth it. Marriage is even stronger. And then LaWanda said, it's fear. My wife said something. My wife said, right. People don't want to fight and give up easily. She has spoken. LaWanda also said, it's fear, sis. God did not build us like to fear. Well, built us on fear. And Tara said, growth is constant. I agree. All right. So that was a lot of meat up in there.
Yeah, it was. It really was, though.
So you want to read the next question?
So the next question is an interesting question. So these questions are from our sister Natanya. So the next one is a question hypothetical. If you could trade responsibility in, what would it be worth? And when I asked her to kind of expound upon that, she was saying that she said that I remember some time ago there was a point made that in a man's mind everything can feel like responsibility, and that can be tiresome. She said if that's the case, and you can trade your responsibility, what would be worth the trade for you? What would be worth the trade? You know how we talk about how being a man is sometimes portrayed as taking on one responsibility after another. If we could just take all that, bundled up, and trade in for something, what would you trade it for?
So many things just came to my mind.
Wait, if we could trade our responsibility for something, what would we trade it for? I missed the question.
Right.
Or I don't understand it.
Right. So, John, in the previous Brother Empowerment, we talked about how, as men, a lot of, or a great deal of us are brought up to believe that being a man and going through manhood is just picking up one responsibility after another and putting it on your back and trudging through life, and just being
Right.
one big basically magnet for responsibility. So what the sister Tanya was saying is that the question she posed is that all that responsibility that you've been brought up to, believe that you're supposed to take on, if you could take all that and trade it in for something, what would it be worth to you? What would you trade it in for?
You cut out. Hold on, I'm gonna repeat back what I think. If you
He said you cut out, then you froze.
if you could take all that responsibility and trade it in for something, what would you?
So basically,
maybe this is just my slow day.
No, you're fine. I'll give you an example. Like, I hate the stigma that a man is always supposed to be a provider.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No matter what I do, meaning if I wanted to take time off from school, take off time from work, and my wife be the chief breadwinner, I would be perceived as a lazy man.
Mm-hmm.
But if I did the same thing for my wife and I worked, I would be perceived as a good man.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That provider scenario, I wish I could do away with that. And what it would be worth for me is that I would actually I wish I could replace that with also the stigma of men being poor communicators. Because I know a lot of men who are excellent communicators. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of men who know how to express themselves. And I wish that we could exchange that burden with an expectation of saying, no, men are not horrible communicators. They are great communicators, but men aren't expected to be providers. Mm-hmm. That would mean so much to me, because I think that a lot of the changes happen because women are conditioned in America to be servants and to be a property. Men are perceived to be the provider and to gain or access that property. Mm-hmm. I hate that stigma. I hate that way of thinking. And yes, it may sound good, but it's very destructive.
Oh, yeah.
So I really would take away that burden of thinking that men should always be the provider.
No, I think if a burden that I wish that men could let go of is the fear of being looked at as weak when they get depressed and down. Depression is no joke. It is a real thing, and the moment a man expresses any kind of fear, he's looked at as weak. And what woman wants to be with a weak man? Mm-hmm. And I think the reason why the suicide rate amongst men is so high, and nobody wants to talk about it. I mean, every three out of four suicides is a man, and most of it is depression. You know, we talk about domestic violence. Do we ever talk about that? I think it's like 46% of recipients of domestic violence are men that are only reported. You know, because he's a weak man. If he reports that his wife, slapped the mess out of him, we laugh about it. They did a study a few years ago where it was a show, but it was put on as though it was real, and they had this woman slapping this guy, and they were actors, and people were filming it. I mean, they were just filming it, laughing, joking about it. And then they went on the other side of town, did the exact same thing, same actors, and they had this man get in this woman's face and just kind of, slap around. I mean, people were knocking chairs over. And you want to talk about gender equality? What happened with the gender equality there? I'm not saying that someone needs to get slapped or anything, but a lot of times men bottle that stuff up, fears that we have, and we don't talk about it, and then we finally put a gun to our head and kill ourselves. And then all of a sudden people say, I didn't know he was dealing with that. Well, you made fun of him whenever he came to you. Why would he talk about it? Yeah. So depression is a real thing, and it's a responsibility of a man to always be strong. Sometimes we get weak. you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was heavy.
Yeah.
You got anything, bro?
I would say if I were going to trade in all that responsibility for anything, I would trade it in for a level field of perspective across the board for men and women. I would no expectations, no, you're a man, so you're supposed to, no, you're a woman, you're supposed to. I would trade in for that. Even field, just people would be themselves because as we're talking about, some men, the things that are pushed upon us at a young age or just in general are damaging. So if I was going to trade that in for anything, I would trade in for everything to be even across the board and for us to just really be in balance with one another. That's what
Yeah, I agree with that. Equality. I mean, yeah.
It was just beautiful.
I'm
Episode kumbaya. I'm messing. Okay, you have Kelly Dixon, who came on and said mental health is no joke. But LaWanda asked the question. She said, how do you break down head of household?
Well, I mean, for my wife and I hear a lot of women complain about their husband not helping out around the house, and I will admit that I slip. But I mean, if dishes need to be done, I just get in there and do it. I mean, there's no. I mean, my father-in-law taught me something one time that I've never forgotten. I was raised in a cult, and in that cult, the women were subservient to men, and that you just didn't ask questions. They just did what they were told. My mom just did what she was told. Women were, I mean, it was an abusive situation, and so after I got married, I remember I had poured myself some coffee, and I spilled a little bit on the counter. And my father-in-law, and we were talking, he said, "You gonna clean that up?" I said, "Oh, Jamie will get it." He said, "But you spilled it, son. You gonna clean that up?" And I said, "Oh, well, Jamie will get it." I'm expecting her to do it. She's my wife. That's what she's supposed to do, right? And he says, "Son, that's my daughter you're talking about." He said, "I think you clean up after your mess. How would you feel if the roles were reversed?" And he put me in my place, and it hurt my feelings, but in a good way. And I think with us, we're, head of household, how we split things up. My wife and I have 3 accounts. I have an account. She has an account. We have a joint account. What she does with her money is her business. It's really none of my business. As long as the minimum of the bills are met, I'm not concerned about that. My father had a huge issue with that, because she shouldn't have that kind of control over money. Why would I have a problem with it? It's her money. I would hate it if someone was telling me what to do with my money. I mean, we make sure that debt is paid, bills are paid, and then whatever is left over, if you made it, that's your money, So for us with head of our household, head of household, I mean, when we bought our house, I was over in Iraq, and I told the real estate agent, "You talk to her," even though I was the one with the income at the time. I told her, "Look, you don't need to talk to me. Talk to her as though you're talking to me. The only reason that you need to call me is just to sign papers. But other than that, if you have questions about what she wants, ask her. She's my equal. I'm not scared of her making a decision. Because her interest is in the family. That's what the head of household is. It's always about the family at all times. It should be."
I definitely agree with you too. I was going to say, I think that we confuse, Cordell and I talked about this offline. We confuse female and male attributes as being gender specific. When really, when you think about language and how language evolved, they're just positioning and phrasing. When I think about head of household, I think about the unit, meaning how that unit moves and operates. I don't look at it as, oh, the man is the head of the household. And even those who come from a Abrahamic faith type look at it, that's also a misunderstanding of what a head of household is. A lead is not always making the decision. If you are a true leader in any situation, you know who makes the best choices, the best decisions, and yielding and submission is just as much a part of leadership as being that aggressive, influential type of being too. But head of household, head is actually meaning a unit. Meaning, how do we move as a family unit?
Right.
And are we moving that way? When you have a two-headed household, that's where confusion comes. Because you're moving in two different directions. You have to move as one. And that is a balance and transferring of male and female attributes that has nothing to do with gender.
Right. And I think that men and women who have an issue with some of those things, they're the part of the problem in the relationship. Where, you know, that control comes in, you know, you hear about a domineering woman or a domineering man, you know, they have it their way all the way. Yeah, I think that person suffers from self-esteem issues, you know, that they can't, it's always they're a very selfish person. It's always about them and what they want. You know, this is not some, you know, tribal warfare that we're in, you know, where, you know, I come in, I grab my wife by the hair and she does what I say, you know, it's not, I wouldn't be happy in a marriage like that where she, you know, has to do what I say. I want to know her opinion because I value it. Because sometimes her opinion's better than mine, you know. And it doesn't affect me to say, yeah, she's right. You know, it doesn't bother me in any way, you know.
LaWanda said it's a lot of pressure on men. And Kelly came back to say, perception is based on experiences. Experiences yield expectations. And LaWanda talked about when she's talking about household, she's thinking more about provider, which we kind of went over a little bit. And then we have Tara, who said she loved the breakdown of head of household. If the husband is away, she has to leave. It can't be a new sensation. Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely true. I mean, you mentioned being in Iraq when, you know, you were getting your house, John. My parents are military, you know, they're Navy. My dad's retired, my mom is still active. You know, both my parents were, you know, my dad's retired Master Chief, my mom is a commander in the Navy. And so both my parents, you know, in their jobs, they have a bunch of people under them, they command respect, and they are the leaders in their respective positions. But in the household, in their marriage, there was, you know, there were, of course, there were times where my parents butted heads, but there was a harmonious balance, especially when it comes to making decisions. My mom is, you know, she's a high ranking officer. She didn't try to lord over my dad, and vice versa. They tackled things as a team, and they ran the household as a team. You know, there's one of the things I didn't like, and I get in trouble as a kid, was my parents would decide on punishment together. There was no, you know, there was no talk to your father, go talk to your mom. There was, what are we gonna do? Because, you know, Cordell got in trouble at school, he did something. What are we gonna do? Well, you want to do that? Well, that sounds good. Or you want to do that? No, we should do this.
They had a whole council.
Yeah. So, you know, my parents have been married for 25 or 26 years at this point. So that's the example that I had. And so when I think of head of household, like Jay said, and like you said, I think of a unit running the household in the same direction and not going in different directions. So that's what I want. I don't want to be the person who always has to make the decisions. The only time I defer or the only time I seek counsel when I don't know. I don't want that kind of pressure. I don't want that kind of responsibility, because that's not what the example that I had. That's not what I want. I have enough responsibility running my household right now by myself. So when I marry someone, I don't want to double my responsibility. I want it to be shared, and I want us to do it together.
I agree. Hey, brother, we have made it near that time. An hour goes by fast, doesn't it?
It's been an hour? Man, wow.
Okay, so as we do, the first thing is, because we didn't share this, if people want to get in touch with you, see some of your artwork, see what you got going on, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
You know, Facebook, immediately, you know, you can send me a request, or you can just send me a message. My email is johnpriceart@gmail.com. Anything that you need, as far as paintings and drawings and design work, I am your man. And if I can't do it, I'll put you in touch with an artist who can. Writing, you know, I do a lot of short stories. So John Price author, if you like adult thrillers, that will scare the hell out of you. I'm just saying. You know, so that's how you can reach me, John Price author or John Price art at Gmail.
And John, I definitely want to I want you to meet a female counterpart who's doing basically similar things that you're doing in this area.
Okay.
And it's actually Tara who's on. She's a creative wellness advocate, but she's also a love advocate as well. And she's very passionate about the same things. And she too is an artist, and she too owns an art studio.
Oh, wow.
So I definitely want you guys to connect, because you never know how that may impact. Because you're in Virginia and you're only 2 hours away, you never know what type of relationship or what type of things could happen from that.
I would love to. I'll look you. Tara. I'll look you up, or you know, once we get finished, we can contact each other. You know.
Awesome. Oh, Kelly had one question. Kelly, we're gonna answer that question next week.
Yeah.
Because now we got to do positive brother shout out. John, shout out some positive brothers.
Oh man, Latane Phillips. That's my boy. We've been friends for years. I mean, that guy is doing everything he can to make a difference. He's got a 501c3 out in Texas that he feeds children who are in underprivileged areas. I mean, that guy is killing it. He had a lot of things to overcome, and that man is really, he's teamed up with Hunger Busters, and that man has a lot of a heart for kids, for underprivileged kids. He's somebody, if you want to get in contact, Latane Phillips, he's someone you might want to have on one day. He's got a lot of perspective about the world as a whole. He's just been all over, and he's got a wealth of knowledge, and he's just one of the friendliest people that you can meet. So
awesome.
Positive brothers that I want to shout out. Of course, I want to shout out the two brothers that I'm on the live with right now, John and Jay, the two J's. So I definitely want to shout you guys out, because you know, this is what we're doing. Is, I mean, this feels so right, and I love doing this. I really just love doing this every week. I look forward to this every week. As far as other brothers that I want to shout out, I do want to shout out again. I want to shout out the brothers that came to our Brother Empowerment Cookout on March 24th. So, you know, Corey, you know, Tadow, Tori, DJ Ty, and anyone else that I'm missing. You know, I definitely want to shout out all those positive brothers, as well as my Uncle Marcus, or everybody's Uncle Marcus.
Uncle Marcus.
Yeah, my Uncle Antoine, and my homie Keon. So just, there's a lot of positive brothers that I know, and I could go on forever, but just those off the top of my head.
I definitely want to give a huge shout out. We always talk about you guys, but I tell Cordell a lot privately when we're driving or something like that. It feels great to do something like this, but it also feels great to have a brother by your side doing it who's equally as passionate about it as well. And John, I'm glad for several reasons that you're on. For one, I haven't seen you in years. We were Facebook friends, and I think that's when you went to Iraq. I lost contact. Then I found you again, and you're still the same. You're the same as we were with kids. You never, it's funny, you never went with conformity. You always lived your life outside of the lines, you know, pun intended. And that's what I love about you, and I love what you bring to this. And I know that you will be a continuous part of not only Brother Empowerment, but Love is a Parable, because there are so many things I wanted to share. We talked about before. We're going to continue that. And I thank you for being open and transparent and doing this. So you're definitely my positive brother shout out. But I also want to shout out that brother that doesn't get that opportunity to express himself. I want to give a positive shout out to that brother who's working, and so he can't attend those PTA meetings, or he can't spend time with the family like he wants to because he's so focused on being that provider. And I just want that brother to know that we love you, we appreciate, and we're here. Also, if you know a brother that's going through something that just need love and need to be around positive brothers, you can always visit us at Love is a Parable /Brother Empowerment, and you can reach out to us directly. And if there's any one of us, the brothers that you've seen on any of the shows you want to connect with, let us know. We're here for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it. John, once again, thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you, man.
Everybody who tuned in, thank you so much. Everybody, we love you guys. Have a wonderful night. See you next Thursday.
Thank you, John. Have a good night, man.
Yep. Thank you.